I'm talking to my female viewers here. If your husband or boyfriend does not want kids but you do, I honestly think the fastest way to convince him is to make him play Pragmata. I'm serious. Let him sit down and play it. Let him spend a few hours with Diana, and by the time the game is over, something inside him is definitely going to soften. Because Pragmata is not just giving you action, sci-fi, or robot battles. It is basically a game that plants that father-daughter feeling right into your heart. I've been waiting for this game for years, but to be completely honest, I never thought it would hit me this hard. Pragmata is not just a very good game. It is also a very special experience that pulls you in, makes you form a strong bond, and stays in your mind long after it is over. So what is this game I am praising so much actually about? What is the gameplay like? And what is the story? Let's talk about it together. I was one of the people who had been waiting for Pragmata for years. From the moment it was first announced, it was one of those games that caught my attention and that I kept following every time a new update came out. Yes, it got delayed, and yes, it disappeared for a long time, but I still never lost my curiosity. In fact, after trying the demo, I had already put it straight onto my list of most anticipated games of 2026. And now, as someone who has finished Pragmata after about 20 hours, I can comfortably say this. The game came out at exactly the level of quality I was expecting. No less, no more. Is it a very good game? I think yes. Does it deserve the $60? I think, for the most part, yes, it does. But to explain why it deserves that price, I first need to explain why this game hit me so strongly. Because yes, I was waiting for Pragmata, but I did not think it would affect me this much. In my head, I was expecting something more like, I'll play an interesting sci-fi action game and have a good time. But when the game ended, what I was left with was not just a good action system. I was left with a character I bonded with, a world I got pulled into, and a kind of pure gaming enjoyment that I had not felt in a very long time. I can even say this very clearly. When I think about all of 2025 and the beginning of 2026 together, Pragmata ended up being one of the games I had the most fun with. Enjoyed the most, and lost track of time the most while playing. Maybe it was even number one. I had not enjoyed a game this much in a long time. The last time I got this absorbed in an experience was with the first The Last of Us. Pragmata left a similar kind of impact on me. When you look at the story, you are not really dealing with something super original. A moon station, an out-of-control AI, aggressive robots, a ruined sci-fi facility. These are all things we have seen many times before. So Pragmata's main plot does not give you that feeling of, I've never seen anything like this in my life. In that sense, yes, the story concept is cliché, but I think Pragmata is already aware of that. The game gets its real strength not from the main plot, but completely from the character relationships. This works less like a story about escaping AI on a space station and more like a father-daughter story. Hugh and Diana's journey forms the emotional backbone of the game. And honestly, that is exactly what pulled me in the most. Diana is the heart of this game. There is no need to dance around that. In fact, the one carrying the story is not even Hugh, it is directly Diana. Because Diana's design, her attitude, her curiosity, the way she talks, and the way she reacts to the environment are all done so well that you start caring about her more than the game's bigger story. At a certain point, the question stops being, what happened on this station, and becomes, is anything going to happen to Diana? To be honest, at first I expected Diana to be a more robotic character. I thought she would be more mechanical, colder, more artificial, more like a child figure built with a machine-like vibe, but it did not come out like that at all. She is written very much like a real child, someone who does not know the world, who is curious about everything, who gets excited by new things, and who finds joy in small details. And that instantly makes her much more lovable and much more effective as a character. And she is done in such a cute way that it is genuinely impossible to stay indifferent. You look at her design, and she is unbelievably adorable. That oversized blue coat, the blonde hair, her tiny little presence, all of that already works immediately. But the real thing is not just the design. It is her movements, her reactions, the way she speaks, the overly curious reactions she gives to little objects around her. All of it makes her feel like a living person. Sometimes you genuinely find yourself thinking, I want to take this kid out of the game and hug her. The developers clearly knew Diana was the emotional heart of the story, so they really did everything they could to make the player love her. They put an insane amount of care even into her simplest animations. The little way she walks, the tiny motions she makes while playing with something, the reactions she gives to objects around her. On paper, these might seem like small details, but they play a huge role in helping the player bond with the character. In this game, the animations really do feel like part of the character writing. For example, there is a scene where she interacts with a globe. At first, she spins it gently. Then once she starts liking it, she speeds it up, and while doing it, she starts making little sounds to herself. It is actually a very simple moment, but it completely sells the character to you. In that moment, you think, this is not just an NPC standing there for the story. She really behaves like a child. And I think Pragmata's magic lies in moments like that. I also found the voice acting very successful. With younger characters, the English dub can sometimes immediately feel off. It can become way too obvious that it is an adult trying to imitate a child's voice. I did not have that problem with Pragmata. Diana's voice never felt annoying to me. On the contrary, it was very believable, and that only strengthened my attachment to the character even more. But I think the strongest part is not just that Diana is cute. Pragmata literally gives you the feeling of being a father. It does not feel like you are just controlling two characters. From the very first hour, the game basically entrusts Diana to you. And from the start, you begin to feel protective of her, like you need to look after her and make sure nothing happens to her. They integrated that feeling into the game in a very natural way. I could even say that through Hugh, the game lets you experience what it feels like to be a father. Because the relationship between Hugh and Diana is not something that develops very slowly, little by little. That bond forms very quickly. And the father role is placed more on the player than on Hugh himself. So you are not standing outside watching two characters grow close. You are personally stepping inside that relationship. And I think that is exactly why the game worked so strongly for me. And you know what? After this game, I feel a little warmer toward the idea of becoming a father, not gonna lie. I know I'm being manipulated, but I'm okay with it. Because I have not formed a bond with a fictional character this strongly in a very long time. I genuinely loved Diana so much. In fact, if I can somehow find a figure of her from this game, I'm buying it. And if I can't find one, I'll have one made. That's the level I'm at. Now let's get to the gameplay. From the outside, Pragmata might look like some kind of robot Resident Evil because of the over-the-shoulder camera. But that is not really the case. Just because the camera angle is similar, people might assume the game design is similar too. But I think Pragmata is very different from Resident Evil in a serious way. For one thing, resource management here is almost non-existent. Your main weapon never runs out of ammo, you just wait for a short recharge. So the game does not suffocate you with ammo stress. There is ammo for your side weapons and healing items, but they are not so scarce that they keep you under constant pressure. Thanks to the checkpoint structure, you do not really experience that exhausting kind of resource stress. So basically, Pragmata is not trying to create survival horror tension. The game has a different design philosophy, and at the center of that design is, of course, the hacking mechanic. I think this is where Pragmata is at its most original, because the game combines third-person shooting with puzzle logic in a very interesting way. During combat, you are dodging enemies, taking position, and firing. At the same time, you are also trying to solve the hacking puzzle on the right side of the screen. Why? Because the enemies are armored by default. If you just shoot at them directly, the bullets either bounce off or do very little damage. To deal real damage, you first have to open up their defenses. And the hacking system is really well thought out. The goal is to reach the green node. But if you go directly there, the enemy's armor only opens up for a very short time. If you pass through more blue nodes first, you deal much more damage and also keep the enemy vulnerable for longer. But if you take damage while doing that, the hack gets interrupted and you have to start over. So the game is constantly making you balance risk and reward. I already love systems like that in general, and I absolutely loved it here too. Is it intimidating at first? Yes, it can be a little intimidating, because you have to do several things at the same time, but the game teaches it very well. It starts you off with simple enemies, smaller hack screens, and slower attacks. Then the difficulty gradually rises. By that point, you have already gotten used to the system. So it does not just throw you into the water and say, either swim or drown. It prepares you step by step. I think that is a very skillful design choice. And the best part is this system actually manages to carry a 20-hour game, because what I described is only the foundation. As you go further, new enemy types show up, different weak points come into play, and with some enemies, you first have to destroy the parts that block hacking. Weapons and mods constantly open up new strategies too. So the mechanic does not just remain a cool idea, it gets more and more layers added to it. On the weapon side, it is not just about standard options with higher damage either. There are weapons that immobilize enemies, leave hologram decoys, give you an advantage on the hack screen, and help you handle large groups more effectively. In the same way, the mod system is very strong too. With the mods you equip to Diana, you can paralyze enemies, lower their defenses, make them attack each other, or spread effects over a wider area. Hugh's mods are more passive, but they still make meaningful contributions. So while testing out new enemies, new weapons, and new mod combinations throughout the game, those 20 hours genuinely flew by. I only felt a slight bit of fatigue around 70% of the way through, But then I realized I had been playing for many hours straight without a break. So I stopped for the day and went to bed. The next day, when I came back, that same smooth flow was right there again. And once the pace picked up toward the end, I finished the game feeling very satisfied. The boss fights are also very good. Each one has its own thing going on, its own gimmick. They test the things you have learned throughout the chapter. They feel epic, and they also give satisfying gameplay payoffs. So overall, I think the core mechanics, enemy variety, and boss fights are all among the game's strong points. Don't you also feel like there have been fewer action games lately that really have their own system? Write that in the comments too. As for level design, the game is good, but not flawless. I was expecting a slightly more creative structure. The overall design is fairly linear. There is exploration, there are hidden rooms, there are extra paths, but it is not the kind of design that leaves you extremely free. If you are expecting something like Resident Evil 2, where you slowly unlock one large area, it is not like that. It is more of a forward-moving structure that rewards you when you explore. I do not think that is bad, but we could have seen some bolder things on the puzzle side. Especially with the combat itself already functioning like a puzzle, I thought the level design might also have more creative puzzle ideas. That part felt a little weak. But the variety of environments makes up for that to a point. My biggest fear was that the same white space station aesthetic would get boring after 20 hours. Thankfully, every chapter has a different visual atmosphere. There are areas inspired by Times Square, areas that feel like botanical gardens, and other varied environments, so the game does not become visually repetitive. On the technical side, my experience was very clean. On my system with a 5060, I turned everything on and played comfortably. I cannot say for sure how it performs on lower-end systems, but on my side there were no major problems. Visually, I think the game looks very good. I would not say it redefines the new generation, but it is definitely above average. Especially the robot designs, Hugh's outfit, and Diana's character model, all look very strong. Now let's get to the question of whether it is worth buying. I think yes, it is. The game is not $70, it is $60, and I think it largely earns that price. In fact, I paid $52 for the deluxe edition, and it was absolutely worth it. Honestly, out of the money I have spent on games lately, this $52 is one of the purchases I regret the least. But let me say one thing very clearly. If you are the type of person who says, if I'm paying $60, I want 100 hours of content, Pragmata is not that game. This is a more concentrated, more refined experience, one that has been stripped of unnecessary excess. It is not wasting your time with bloated filler content. It is trying to present the good things it has in the cleanest way possible. And for me, that is exactly where its value lies. Sometimes what matters is not a game's length, but how strong the feeling it leaves you with is. My score would be around 8.5 out of 10. The main story is not very original, the level design could have been more creative, and some players may find the linear structure a little too controlled. But even so, thanks to the bond it makes you form with Diana, the freshness of the hacking system, and the overall flow of the game, it has become my favorite big-budget game of 2026 so far. And if you do not have the time or budget for it right now, definitely give it a shot on sale. Because quality new IPs like this can disappear very easily in the crowd. So yes guys, those are my full thoughts on Pragmata. What do you think? Do you think Diana would leave that kind of strong impact on you too? Or did you connect more with the gameplay side? Be sure to write it in the comments. I will read all of them. If you liked the video, do not forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. See you in the next video.